The Weekly, hosted by the editors of Pro Builder and Pro Remodeler, starts now.
What is good design? Is it this? Or is it this? Unlikely. Or maybe it's this. Or even this. Probably. Some people know good design when they see it. Others? Well, good design is all around us. In the spaces we visit, the restaurants where we eat, and in the products we use every day. Long mocked as a nation of design know-nothings, American consumers now embrace the concept of good design, drawing inspiration from such brands as IKEA, Target, Apple, HDTV, and any number of brands that make design a priority. But what is the value of design? As a home builder or remodeler, how do you incorporate more good design in what you do? Today I talked to two experts who know a thing or two about good design.
Before we start, I just kind of want to have each of you just talk a little bit about your companies and what you do, and then we can start talking about our topic with today, which is the value of design. Alaina, why don't you go first?
Sure. We are Garman Homes, Fresh Paint by Garman Homes. We are a local, privately held home builder. We build just under 200 homes a year. We are production home builders. We came from big builder backgrounds and wanted to kind of layer on this intensely personal customer experience. And we started in '07, perfect timing for a home building company. And just sort of built it very organically. We still don't spend a lot of money on advertising. We are heavily referral based. And we love what we do, but we love to build the median price for new home construction or under. And we regularly say no to projects that would put us above that price point. So we focus on attainable, beautiful product.
Okay. And Rame, what about you? Tell us a little bit about InTexture.
Sure. So my husband and I are both founders of InTexture. We started that company in 2000. And InTexture focuses on high-end modern custom homes. And in 2007, we started doing design build as well. And then that kind of led us down a path of looking at better ways to build, which we began getting really interested in prefabricated construction. So we've recently founded a new company called Box Prefab, which it aims to make design more accessible to the general public. So we're kind of working on both of those, kind of two different pathways at the same time.
Okay, so Rame, let's stay with you for a second. Now, so we know that design is a very subjective thing, but ideally, your clients are approaching you because they want good design. So tell me, how do you approach and how do you view good design at large for the consumers as well as for your clients?
Well, good design for us is really a core value to our brand. So we've really started with that and built our brand and built our products around that so that it doesn't come through, an afterthought or sort of the icing on the cake, that it's really something that's integral to what we do. For example, it's part of the design and the architecture, but it also relates to engineering. And when we get into the prefab side of things, it also translates to how it's built. So it's a holistic way of looking at things. And I think that, consumers, who we're working with are naturally gravitate towards that.
Okay. So now, Alaina, you're coming from this at a completely different perspective because you have to also make money.
Well, I'm guessing Rame does too.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
True. Yeah. I believe good design exists at all price points. And so it's difficult. It's always a trade-off. But I think that forces us to be good editors. I think when you have a blank checkbook, that good design sort of flies out the window. I think good design exists at all price points, but I think when you have more restraints, you're forced to make decisions about the design narrative or the aesthetic that you're trying to achieve. and that can actually help you in some ways. It's a constraint, but it's a good pressure.
Okay. Now, as a production home builder or as a home builder in general, we both know that design is not all that is about when people
Right.
are buying homes. You talk about school
Right.
districts, location, that sort of thing. So in the hierarchy for consumers, where does design fit?
Well, it depends who you're after. So
Okay.
so we're not a company that says like we're for everybody. We are for people who actually appreciate a design aesthetic at all price ranges. So, or from the price range, which is my
Yeah.
favorite. So we try to make design decisions that will add value to their home over time, and that will also create more intuitive use of the space, so that the space can accommodate sort of where they are now and then where they're going. So hopefully our design decisions are giving them longevity to the space and flexibility, usability. Especially over this past year, we've seen how people have adapted the use of space in their home. And I think it's proven some good design philosophy that we had in production home building. So we have to be good stewards of that, and good, I think of us as like a design Sherpa. Like
Yeah.
we have to create something that appeals to the buyer we're after. And the buyer we're after definitely appreciates something that looks a little bit different than every other production home on the market.
Yeah. So now for in texture, Rame, you're getting clients.
Right.
Do you ever get clients who you just think, wow, you have really bad taste, even though you came to us? So you kind of sort of have to shepherd them through the process as to what's good design and what's not good design.
Well, I think, the people that we're working with have generally come to us because they like what we do.
Okay.
And I think good design encompasses, touching on some of what Alaina said, it encompasses more than just the aesthetics too. It's resiliency, durability, sustainability, how the space feels and functions. So all of that, really plays into the overall design. And, really, I think, we're using tools like, we model everything in Revit. It really gives us a 3D view of what the home's going to look like. And we can walk people through that. Being able to do that with a client is really, how we can make these decisions and make sure everybody's on board and their goals are aligned with what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So this is the question for both of you, and you can take turns answering it. But do you think consumers are more design conscious now than they were, say, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago?
I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we first started our firm 20 years ago, we were, further out there in terms of modern and what we were doing aesthetically. And now people really do care about design. And I think, part of that comes from products like Apple, where they've made, beautiful products and integrated design and engineering together. That's becoming more expected. I think things like, HGTV has really expanded, people's horizons on making projects like this feel more, attainable.
Mm-hmm.
I would say all that and a layer of personal expression, especially from the millennial generation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not that the millennials all act like one type of person, but across that generation, I would say there's a lot more personal expression, and design sort of falls under that. And they are exposed to businesses like Apple and like, HGTV, but HGTV is harmful to me as a home builder because there's this gross oversimplification of what it takes to pull off,
Right.
every little thing.
Yeah. Now you touched on Apple, both of you. And so let's stick with Apple for a second, because Apple's now have phones that are $1,500, but people really want them. Is it possible for you to price your homes in such a way that you say, you know what, this house looks so good that I'm going to charge a premium because of the design and actually make a profit? And this is specifically for you, Alaina.
For sure. Yeah, but also respecting where where that line is, where I'm
Okay.
going to lose people or exclude people. I think I'm always weighing what we're putting a premium on and what we're not. So I'm not the lowest price per square foot, and I don't aim to be either. But the premium for my home versus one of the large national builders inside a master plan community is that my aesthetic. I mean, we are capitalizing on that premium, and we get a higher price per square foot. We're building a smaller house with better features, but you can't change the features like Apple. You don't go in there and customize your phone.
Right.
They offer what they offer, and we do the same thing with design with Fresh Paint, where we curate a whole home design package, and the package comes like the package comes.
Okay.
And there's tiers that you can upgrade to and different aesthetics, but we don't make any changes to it because that's how I've negotiated with the vendors, the repeatability, the scalability of this is the option I'm going to choose for this package, and I'm not going to change it. And that covenant with the trade partner is what allows me to offer it for less than it would if it was a la carte.
Right.
And then that's the trade-off that the home buyer buys into that, because it's value and it's premium.
Right.
At the same
Okay.
time.
So Rame, you talked about prefab, and I think one of the champions for prefab in this country in the last 15 years is Dwell magazine. And Dwell has influenced quite a bit of younger people in the modern aesthetic. I credit Dwell with ushering in the acceptance of modern design. When your clients come to you, do they ever reference things that they see in Dwell or in the popular media that you have to either dispel or educate them on?
Well, absolutely. I completely agree with you that Dwell has really been a game changer in opening up people's perspective on both modern design as well as prefab. And, it's really, it's exciting to get clients that have done some research. They have some ideas, but at the same time, sometimes there is a piece about educating them and working with them to set expectations based on their project specifics, especially when you're dealing with things like budget and schedule. So, not everything translates, based on geography or where you are or the specifics of your project. So that's something that we work with clients on. But overall, I see it as a really positive, influence that people care about design and that they're more interested in how their space can feel and function.
Mm-hmm. So now, as we talked about earlier, design is subjective, but there are certain elements that you expect all well-designed spaces to have. And some of those are light. The floor plan must function. And then you must have storage and all of the sort of features that people expect for modern day life. But what other aspects of design do you include in either your prefab of your design build work and for your houses at Fresh Paint or for Garman Homes, Alaina?
I'll go first. So we try to follow all the rules of good design, right? And so in a smaller space, we do can lights for the most part, the recessed can lights, and then we'll use, 2 pendant lights to draw focus or an aesthetic to one spot or 2 spots, not overly clutter the space. But we also like to surprise people with design elements. So we just did a collection of cottage homes, and they're 800 square feet to 1,200 square feet. And 2 of the plans have stairs, and the stairs actually come out as drawers. The risers come out as drawers.
Okay.
So those are fun elements. Then we also have sort of a built-in breakfast nook in the 2 plans that don't have the second floor, that are ranch plans, so that we're reflecting the desire to have the furniture fit in the design aesthetic of the home. And so it comes like a booth, a built-in booth through trim work.
Okay.
We're able to do that. So I think it's finding ways to surprise people and show a little bit of your personality, as well as reflect the highest and best use of the space, because these are smaller spaces. So we also want to take responsibility for the space we're giving, but then optimize it for the buyer.
Okay. Now, what about you, Rame?
I mean, I think, it's kind of a baseline that the space has to function, and really thinking through the storage and how people are going to live and how their furniture is going to lay out and where's the TV going to go. All those kind of things need to be thought through. And then there's another layer on top of that, which is really kind of the magic of the space. And it's thinking through things like light and, views, and how can we bring some of the indoor out. And these are things that sometimes the homeowners aren't even aware of them when we're going through a design process. But at the end, when they're living in the space and entertaining, they're like, wow, I didn't even realize when we were talking about this, this feature, how it was going to be so great. And that's really rewarding.
Yeah. So Alaina, who designs your floor plans and your elevations and everything else?
We design them in-house. We have an
Okay.
in-house architectural designer, and then for specific projects, we may work with an architect, an outside architect. We're working with Dahlin Architecture right now on the concept home. For the
Okay.
America at Home study, we're building the concept home for sort of that post-COVID living.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
mostly in-house and mostly from our own perspectives as homeowners, not as necessarily as experts, but as what we appreciate in our homes for our different lives.
Yeah.
For kids, for no kids, for, and prescribing those moments of magic. I think Rame really hit on it. Like, we want someone to have a moment that they don't realize until they're living in the home. And then they call us and they're like, whoa, that was fun.
What are some standard features in your house that, say, a buyer wouldn't get from, a builder down the street?
Painted cabinets, oversized islands with furniture legs, hardwood floors or luxury vinyl plank, just solid surface flooring, recessed can lights, pendants, accent walls. We do painted accent walls.
What about your exteriors?
Exteriors are, well, we do mostly cement fiber siding. We use Nichia products. We do wood front porches, painted rails. We try to do different things. Like the cottage series all have window boxes.
Okay.
Railings, and there's 2 included on each home. And they all have different railing patterns. Every elevation has a different railing pattern. So trying to find some individuality between each of the homes. But we use metal roof sparingly because we can't make it unaffordable. Yeah. As big a window as we can get, different color windows. We have 3 different color windows included in the standard packages, and then you can upgrade to darker windows.
Okay.
Does that cover it? And
yes,
really
that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit for standard. So Rame, now you're in a different position because you can use anything you want as long as the budget supports it. And I was looking at the website, and there are some really cool elevations and some cool use of materials in there. But how do you go through the materials selection process with your clients, and how do you come up with these little features that they may not see it, that they will want it, or it could be useful, but you have to convince them, this will work.
Right. Well, in terms of products and what we're putting in the homes, we actually use a lot of European manufacturers and products. We didn't set out to search for things that were European. It's just we were looking for the best design and what we felt fit our brand and felt that it fit our design. And some of those are things like Hansgrohe and Duravit, where they actually highlight design as part of what their offering is. So that's been one way that we've differentiated ourselves and really helps emphasize design. We also use a lot of European cabinetry. There's a little more lead time and coordination involved in that, but we think it really enhances the overall design and the function of some of these spaces. And then, especially on the prefab side, we've taken that same kind of thought process, but streamlined it in a sense, because that's where we really need to be a lot more efficient about what we can offer people and hone it in to really what we see as a curated collection of products and materials and finishes that go well with what we're designing.
So for your prefab line, a consumer could come off the street and say, I want to buy this model, and is it simple as that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I'm a builder and I just don't value design. I just think it's hooey. My houses sell. I just go with the basic. It's a hot market. How do you convince me that incorporating design into my floor plans, my elevations, my interiors will elevate my brand and help my sales?
That to me.
Anybody. Because I'm sure Ray might have some suggestions for someone at even at a lower price point that they can incorporate into their daily processes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of the things we've talked about in terms of, the media and especially social media is driving consumers to be more savvy. So if you're a builder and you're not thinking about design, I think it's going to affect some of your groups that you're targeting, especially things, people like millennials that have, a very, defined, goals of what they're looking for. And I don't think that design always has to be a cost increase. Sometimes, it can even, balance out in other places. So you just have to really think through holistically what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. What about you, Alaina? So what advice would you give to other builders who need to, incorporate better design into their portfolio?
For us, it's always been about differentiation and separating ourselves from the sea of sameness and showing that we weren't afraid to make homes look like the ones you see in the magazines at every price point. And I think that, they expect to find just a big beige box in the price ranges that we build in. So any attempt to do better than that is really appreciated. And what Rame's saying is true. A lot of builders will just sort of slap on some stone or some brick in a very illogical manner that's expensive as a way of having design on there or something. But we kind of shy away from that and use that money elsewhere. We try to take the money we have and spread it evenly over a lot of different areas so that we can have design moments and not just sort of check a box, right? So I would say our exteriors are somewhat simple, but they're edited well, and so that you can, your eye is drawn to where we want it to be drawn, and we're not going to just put brick on it and call it a day.
Yeah. Okay. Final question: are you hopeful for the future of design in the U.S. in American culture?
Yes. I mean, I'm sort of betting on it.
You sound very convincing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we've seen trends like, for example, we were integrating sustainable features and doing some of the first lead homes as part of a pilot program when the public didn't know that much about sustainability. And now that's really become something that people understand and makes a home desirable. So yeah, I'm very hopeful about the fact that design is a growing trend, and I think it just makes spaces better, and it makes people's lives better.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun because I'm sort of raising Generation Z right here in my home, and they're snobs. They are they are design snobs. So we better get ready.
Yeah, so builders need to be mindful that the folks who are coming up now, they're more exposed to design, and so it'll be an important part of culture going forward.
For sure.
All right,
Absolutely.
great. Well, thank you both for a really great conversation, and we could talk about this for hours and hours, but I really appreciate you taking a little time to chat with me about this. So enjoy the rest of your day.
You're welcome. Sorry, my dog is chiming in right now. Very 2020.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.